Greetings, my fellow freedom love sound thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mangoes of South Florida. And today's date, Friday, October 13th, 2017. Yeah, I almost said September, but yeah, like I said, my friends, everything's been going pretty darn quick. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about, a lot of folks are now saying about, oh yeah, the Iran deal, nuclear arms deal, and like maybe change, maybe scrapped or do sanctions, all this more child's play, active war mindset to support the empire and of course respect our flag, respect our country. But how is that President Trump as a republic or public corporation or a chartered jurisdiction for the Club of Rome? That's the one question I have to ask you, Mr. President. Plus, we, of course, like I talked about before, and a few others as well, stating that the Iran's deal was considered unconstitutional because it was never approved by Congress or the Senate. That's considered a treaty under Article 6. So that should have been approved by them, but not through, quote, executive order. So that's one thing people got to start learning when it comes to the constitutionality of how our federal government should operate. But remember, you got folks out there think there's a bunch of morons because they are lawyers. They know more than you. And I gotta do one thing quick here. Oops, bingo. Okay, good. So I'm gonna be mainly talking about the shootings in Vegas and what's going on in Myanmar. And DeAndre Harris. That's another thing too. So it's interesting here. I have from John Rappaport today. And it's called here, Vegas shooting concert guard phone footage wiped clean by FBI. And I'm just say about Paul Watson. Paul Watson at Enforce has the story. There's a link for that if you want to check it out. Workers at the Route 91 festival during the Stephen Paddock Unleashes massacre have reportedly been given back their phones and laptops by the FBI, only to discover that all messages and videos from the night of the attack have been wiped clean. That's what happens when you leave all your eggs in one area. I would have duplicated everything first, then give it to them. According to a Las Vegas resident who posted a status update on Facebook, a bunch of people that worked the Route 91 concert said they got their cell phones back today. They all said all their phones are completely wiped clean. All messages and information from that weekend are completely gone. Anyone else experienced this? A few different people who were vendors saying the same thing. The woman later comments. Later in the thread, a Route 91 worker confirms the story, commenting, of course, it's an active federal crime scene. They can wipe it clean. I was the beverage manager for the entire event. My laptop is wiped clean. What? First of all, in a recent article, I demonstrated in detail why you can never trust the FBI says about evidence in any investigation. There's a notorious history of the Bureau cooking and slanting and inventing data to support prosecutions. Second, who says the FBI can take people's phones and laptops, watch and copy the video footage, then wipe it all away before returning the devices to their owners? The FBI literally owns the crime scene and any record of what happened at that scene? Baloney. The obvious reason for wiping out the footage is contained evidence that contradicts the official scenario, and most likely that evidence revealed multiple shooters. As Vegas cops, the FBI, and the owners of the Mandalay Hotel have changed and messaged the official narrative, one assertion has remained constant. There was only one shooter, and he was Stephen Paddock. Oh, really? And pigs can fly, right? Come on. Law enforcement pounced on their claim early on without the slightest justification, without interviewing multiple witnesses who state they saw other shooters. Okay, the mass shooting happened yesterday and we know there was only one shooter. That's it. Don't ask us any questions about this. Anyone who disagrees with us is spreading rumors and impeding the investigation. Yes, government, I will trust you with my life. I will sell my soul to you because I know you will protect me. What a wet dream. Admitting multiple shooters is admitting there was cooperation, collusion, conspiracy, a plan for a purpose for that plan beyond the lone gunman was crazy. This is the door law enforcement keeps slamming shut every time it opens. And now we have a report that the FBI has wiped witnesses' phones and laptops. No more footage of the shooting, no more evidence. Let's be clear, the FBI is impeding the investigation. There's no constitutional rule that the state's private citizens can't investigate crimes. There never was and there never will be. Law enforcement doesn't own investigations. If they did, every time a journalist probes benefit the surface of a crime and uncovers important information, the FBI can say, well, we just opened an investigation of that very crime and therefore we want all your notes and we want you to seize and desist your inquiry. Shut up and go cover Sunday's picnics, okay? In most cases, law enforcement doesn't have to worry about mainstream reporters. Those denizens simply did take dictation from local cops and federal cops, and the stories appear in papers and TV news broadcasts quite clean of independent thought. That leaves the truth a wide open field. Private citizens and non-mainstream journalists own that field, not through edict, but through default. Don't blame us. If you're doing your job, you wouldn't have to do them for you. Your first word would be stop lying. Destruction of evidence is a felony. Those concerts whose phones and laptops were wiped clean had a felony committed against them by agents of the government who have sworn to uphold and protect the Constitution. Thousands of smart lawyers out there will say, come on, there's no way you can make a charge like that stick. Well, maybe there will be a way if enough of you decided that there has been enough destruction of the Constitution. It's time to stand up and be counted, come hell or high water. Meanwhile, whoever can look past the lies and fabrications and distortions of the criminal investigation can say something because they saw something. Remember that? Homeland Security? See something, say something? Yeah, but that's that. Say something, see something, say something, give me your stuff, take it, and have a very dumbed down day with a big middle finger right back at your face. Here is a quick excerpt from my recent piece about the FBI stance on crime probes. It should give you a clue about the Bureau's attitude and reputation. April 20th, 2015, The Atlantic, the Washington Post made clear Saturday in an article that begins with a punch to the gut. Nearly every examiner in the elite FBI forensic unit gave flawed testimony in almost all trials in which they offered evidence against criminal defendants over more than 2-decade period before 2000. The newspaper reported adding that the cases included those of 32 defendants sentenced to death. Think about that, my friends. In the Vegas shooting case, the FBI say, trust us, we're the pros. We do the investigations right away. Now give us your cell phone so we can look at your video footage of the shooting and make a copy and wipe your phone clean and give it back to you. Don't worry, be happy, all is well. The Centurions are on duty. Well, 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 my friends. It's really intriguing when like-minded individuals out there, including myself, question these things in the very beginning, but never really jump to conclusions and have this Finis J. Whoopi know-it-all attitude. But have taken the initiative to observe people's interviews and footage and all that in good faith. That's why now, based on more of this, I am damn convinced it was a Operation Gladio version of what happened in Las Vegas. Just check out my past episode, Gladio in Las Vegas. And I have a couple of links in there pertaining in my footnotes on Operation Gladio. If you haven't heard it, be ready. Look it up, read it, and there's a great interview by one gentleman out there too. I talked about it as well. Something to think about. Remember, my friends, this is not the 1960s anymore. And I'll probably repeat that in the past, so forgive me. That's for the first time listeners out there. Speaking of heroes, they talked about this man, Jesus Campos. This came out on the 10th by Crystal Hayes from Newsweek, out all the publications out there. And it says here, who is Jesus Campos? LA's Las Vegas security guard raises new questions about shooting. A question about significant shift in the timeline of the Las Vegas shooting as security guard stands in the middle of the controversy. Jesus Campos. At first, Campos, a guard at the Mandalay Resort and Casino, was hailed a hero for helping guide police to gunman Stephen Paddock's room on the 32nd floor. Police said Campos was shot in the leg at the end of Paddock's assault on concertgoers, potentially distracting the gunman and causing him to panic and kill himself. But now questions have been raised after Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo, which he is a member of Homeland Security, by the way, under public safety. Just look it up, please. I'm not going to lie about it. Revised the timeline, said Campos had actually been shot about 9:59 p.m., a full 6 minutes before the mass shooting began at 10:05 p.m., which means the guard could have instead led Paddock to start opening fire on the crowd for fear of being caught. Police have said it was difficult to identify the source of bullets during the attack, and the confusion added more minutes to their lengthy response. But the revised timeline shows officers would have known where Paddock was before the mass shooting even started. Did Campos call 911? What happened during those 6 minutes? Much of Campos' story and backgrounds remain a mystery. Campos' co-worker Liana Rodriguez started a GoFundMe account for him on October 3rd, explaining that he'd been shot while on random patrol and could have been any one of us. Funds will be used to provide a relief for financial support for him while he gets back on his feet. Rodriguez's online petition said, "This is a young man I work with for day in and day out. Any financial support would be appreciative for the time he would need to recover." A picture of Campos was displayed as part of the fund because Rodriguez indicated that due to privacy from the media, we don't feel comfortable publishing a photo. Oh, really? During a brief photo conversation with ABC News, Campos said, "I'm fine, I was just doing my job." Call or text messages to Campos, Rodriguez, and others who might know him were not immediately returned. On Tuesday, Las Vegas Metro Police Undersheriff Kevin McHowell explained more about Campos' actions the night of the shooting, helping fill in somewhat happened ahead of the attack. He told KNPR, a local NPR affiliate, that Campos went up to the 32nd floor to investigate a door alarm. While on the 32nd floor, he found that the stairwell door was jammed and radioed down to maintenance. Campos heard a drilling sound and thought it was odd. A maintenance worker came up to the 32nd floor. As the pair started talking, Paddock began firing through the door of his room, first with the single fire gun and then a rapid fire rifle. Police have said that when Campos radioed what happened, it helped them track where Paddock was holed up. McMahill didn't elaborate on the 6 minutes or why police found it difficult to locate Paddock when, according to the new timeline, that they had his location minutes before the assault started. I understand why people are frustrated with this because we are as well, McMahill told KNPR. Interesting. So, it's like more of the flip-flopping continues. Sounds real familiar, right? Sandy Hook? Good example. A lot of flip-flopping going on, my friends. can't get their facts straight. But we're going to continue on here. And it came from the Gateway Pundit, and Doug Owen from Blacklisted News shared this on his site. And it says here, Las Vegas security guard shot by Vegas killer is not registered as a security guard in the state of Nevada. That's a question mark. It is by Joe Hoft. And it came out today, according to this. It's being reported as security guard made famous in the Las Vegas shooter story is not even registered as a guard with the state of Nevada. Is he even a guard? Why was he there? Every security guard in the state of Nevada has to register as an armed or unarmed guard with the state's Private Investigators Licensing Board, or PILB. This entity's records are publicly searchable at Nevada PILB.glsuite.us. There is no license, no Jesus license, CAMPOS license. So interesting. Let's just look at this. See if he exists or not. Interesting. Let's just check this out. No results were returned. Oh, really? How sweet. Something to look at, my friends, right? And if you see this in the bigger picture, according to this, here it is. This is by Jesus Infinity, and it says that earlier this week that CAMPOS was shot before the shooter started firing the crowd below the music festival in Las Vegas. Before this revelation, we were told that the security guard Jose Campos stopped the killer from murdering more people when he approached the killer's room in Vegas. Now we found out the security guard is not even registered a security guard in Nevada. And it's by Poll News Infinity. It is a Twitter account. Interesting stuff there. Yeah. Let's just check it out. You can put the link on there. And let me see. You can't find. This is interesting. Now they made a claim here. Someone made a response. Let's look at Larry Jesus Campos. So someone actually did put that up there as an interesting claim. Could have a different name. Was FBI hiding? Well, someone actually put this out there about Larry Jose Campos, Contemporary Services Corporation. Interesting. So here's the thing about that. This is from the Twitter page. When you look, we hit the link here. I'm Daily Pundit. There's a little link page on there, and I'm glad they put that out. And I see a Larry Jesus Campos here too, but we don't know for sure. That's in Fontana. All right. So they said about the security guards from Melende, right? Melende Resort Center. And what's really interesting here is that Contemporary Service Corporation, they're like, you could say, security staff for football games, concerts. They wear the yellow collared shirts, yellow and blue. They've been around for a long time, so I'm not, I'm not questioning that at all. But he is employed with them. But technically, it says no farm, but technically he's considered an usher. I call them ushers. I'm not being disrespectful towards them too, because I know a lot of them have to do their job, and they have their battles as well. But interesting, we're talking about Contemporary Service Corporation. So how is he, a guy from Contemporary Service Corporation, worked at the Melody Resort, and he's the employer for Contemporary Service Corporation? So I'm glad at least this person put this out there, which is very interesting because, which is good. But the whole thing is, I don't really see things add up respectfully, and shallow scale. Shout to your scale. Hey, he put that out there, which is, yeah, good try. I'm not condemning, but how is he a security for a Melody resort? And he's a CSE guy. But I could be mistaken, because I know one thing for sure. Usually in those facilities they'll have armed security guards. According to this, he's unarmed, and usually they do stuff like the 90. He'll do something like the Route 91 festival. All right, because that's what I'm saying. I'm as a stagehand myself, I'm pretty familiar with that particular entertainment industry, and I could make that be very sincere. So hey, but you know, like I said, but still, that's a question. That's one question about it, you know. So something to really look at. But the fact is, there's a lot more than what it is they want to tell us. And what I'm going to be doing too, I'm gonna leave this here on beforenews.com. Glenn Kennedy, he had a thing on the intel report by Stu Webb. You know, say here Paddock's accomplice singing FBI wants him dead. And there's another interesting video below that. Eyewitness destroys FBI's Las Vegas fairy tale. It's like a little over 40 minutes long, maybe a little bit some editing. However, his name is Geos. Yeah, Mr. Geos. Very good. The way he addressed what he saw in his own words, and his girlfriend did attest to it and made that statement. Yes, a lot of people were shot. He heard some shootings in the Tropicana Hotel as well, and did address the man in the briefcase. All right, remember that one video? I think it's a potato. I could be mistaken, but they had a bunch of armed guards in there surround him, and they had that guy in a briefcase and a person right next to him as well, and they got out. So very, like I said, it could be, like I say, false flags doesn't mean people didn't die. Okay, just to let you folks know, when I talk about false flags, Operation Gladio, I'm not saying it's a total fraud that people did not die. So just to clear that for everyone out there, to give you my intake in these areas. And I'm not saying I'm a big conspiracy fanatic, anything like that. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. But you know what? All that rhetoric's being whitewashed, and it always blows back in their faces. But the truth of the matter is, my friends, this is a lot bigger than what it is. And he talks about the whole thing. Like, there's plenty of other articles in here as well, and stuff past archives on video, so you can really. So I'm going to put that in my footnotes so everyone can see that, and you can just make your own judgments, observe responsibly. If you got something to share, hey, don't be shy. I'll give you everything where you can send it to me. So it's all really good. But it's one thing I tell folks for sure. You gotta always observe responsibly, and I say that in good faith. It's just not to say you got folks are a bunch of morons or pathetic individuals. When, hey, we've all, like this, my friends, we've all been swindled one way or the other. So I'm going to proceed here, which this one came out of this info. Written, posted by a pen gentleman named E. Came out today. It says, DeAndre Harris and white supremacy, a warrant to shut down black. Let's see what it has to say about this. DeAndre Harris, a young black man severely beaten by a group of white supremacists at a Charlottesville rally, just got served with a warrant by a city magistrate for having allegedly assaulted one of the men who are seen beating him. Let me repeat that for you, just in case it didn't click. DeAndre Harris, the young black man severely beaten by a group of white supremacists at a Charlottesville rally, just got served with a warrant by the city magistrate for having allegedly assaulted one of the men who were seen beating him. According to the Washington Post, Harris is now being charged with a felony for allegedly attacking a self-described Southern nationalist named Harold Cruz. DeAndre Harris, mind you, sustained a deep head laceration and a spinal injury after being attacked by a cruise and a few others. Yes, this actually happened. The white supremacy is alive and well. Well, I'll just have to interject in this, and I've seen this 28-second video, and it is absolutely disturbing. But the question I have about white supremacy is alive and well. Isn't it tyrannically government sponsored? That's the question you have to look at. And plus, as I told you in my past episodes on Charlottesville, I've seen social engineering at its finest. It was doomed to fail. It was orchestrated to make it a disaster. And there was another link I added on there too. I think it's called The Real Patrick Show. Hopefully I'm correct. Because one gentleman was interviewing a woman that didn't want to disclose her name. Would go to Charlottesville so many times and seeing people come out of the buses with Ku Klux Klan outfits, Nazi paraphernalia, and Black Lives Matter. All came out of the same bus. That's allegedly speaking, but I always see things in the bigger picture. But we will continue on here. The year is 2017. The White House has contracted a fatal virus as a result. The entire country is battling an advanced infection, except that this analogy only works if, in addition to affecting several of the citizens with terrible ideological outlooks, it also wakes up some genetically latent predisposition to suck as being reasonable, empathetic beings. The year is 2017, and the White House is plagued by an administration whose every abhorrent act implies a continuous support for hateful white supremacist outbursts and incentives. We've all heard Trump's initial response to the Unite the Right Charlottesville participants about how they were very fine on people on both sides. I heard that speech being called a condemnation of the Charlottesville rally, but was it? It's probably just me, but I'm unable to see how Trump, in articulated rhetoric, was in any way the condemnation of such an event. It came way too late, basically praises neo-Nazis and shows every sign of being a result of twisted strategic powwow by his impish and deeply damaged advisors. It wasn't even good damage control. You'd think that they'd actually condemn such acts and save face that bloated, disintended excuse for a face. But it's not surprising. After all, the Herberts is strong with one of the young Padawans. So as a result of all of this, we have this subculture of intolerance, literacy sprouted from every crack of the pavement in the U.S. because racism obviously never died. Instead, it went underground to hibernate and is now feeding on every piss-poor rationale and Facebook argument to survive this symbolic winter. Truth is, I hesitate to use this metaphor since I really like bears, and most Trump supporters are most like bears dropping than bears itself. What's happening now, just in case you weren't paying attention, is that these people who denied being racist while simultaneously wearing Confederate flag cap and popping word nigger, as their lives depended on it. It's just been on the article. All right, so I'll just proceed here. Have been suddenly activated. These people are running rampant, spouting all manner of supremacist drivel, venting their personal insecurities and frustrations as false political acumen and using their power to retaliate against the people who they actually believe are somehow riding the foundation of our country, when it's their divisiveness that's eating away at their democratic infrastructure. It was out of this bubbling cauldron of racist goo and ideological sludge that people like Richard Spencer were summoned to haunt our souls with this insipid "I'm better than you" Dark Ages nonsense. This is not to say that all supremacy talk is direct claim to superiority. At least not all of it. Much of it suitable, deeply embedded on reasoning, the kind that implies superiority rather than demands its enforcement directly. In case of the DeAndre Harris, we're talking about a situation that clearly merited self-defense. He had no right to protect himself. What would you do in this situation? Are black men supposed to accept abuse? If this warrant was a quiet admonition telling people of color to know their place, that you were beaten by a white man, you take it and never retaliate it because you're not his equal. DeAndre Harris is a victim and not an offender. He should be treated as such. How many times we heard this story where a black man's a victim but ends up being treated as an antagonist? And we can say vice versa as well. That's my intake because I see things also. Countless times, and the reason for that these are people behind the scenes with just as shitty value systems as those we can really recognize in the daylight of things. These individuals are everywhere. They exist in all strata of society. There are grocery store clerks, our cops, our pilots, our chefs, our insurance agents, our city councilors, etc. They affect our school systems, our policies, our lawmaking, our communication outlets, and our rights as citizens, all while playing the ever so ironic role of victim because they're so oppressed by the very people they consider inferior. Go figure. White supremacy is everywhere, and you see that a man who was beaten by a group of white supremacists, half which served with a warrant for attacking one of the very people who beat him. You get a live demonstration of that quotidian white supremacy in action, the everyday denial of it, a bitter wretch taste of it, the stubbornly persistent boldness of it, the violence of its transparency. That warrant was retaliatory and evidently initiated by a white supremacist, however anonymous they may have been and be processed by a white supremacist sympathizer who does not have enough moral scruples to stop for a second and say, wait, this is a ridiculous allegation, and it nipped it in the butt. This act is a transparent and tremendously angled slap in the face of everyone of color. The act said we defend our own, you won't get away with defending anyone of color. The act said we defend our own and you won't, we don't defend our own, you won't get away with defending yourself against your superiors. It's disgusting, and if don't do something about, the virus will wipe us out. Maybe zombie movies are prescient subconscious warning to the world that may soon be overrun by drooling idiots who feed on brains precisely because they lack of them. And he has some good valid points. What E is addressing here is tyranny. This is just an example of tyranny. And a lot of you folks that know me, I was not impressed by either side of this disturbance that happened in Charlottesville. I am convinced that Mr. Spencer is an operative. And I know they're funded by some higher ups, including other groups like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all that. You're always going to expect infiltrators, provocateurs, plants, financial, hidden financial advisors, bankrolls. Because who's going to be next? And yes, it is past history that the African Americans, the blacks, and all that will be doing all this too. So the truth of the matter is, my friends, what happened to Mr. Harris, I have to say, is wrong. Everyone in that state of Virginia has the right to defend themselves. Let's close the United States. That's natural law. It's in there. It is in their Virginia Constitution, to be exact, and we'll just look that up right now, just to give you guys a heads up. So just to make sure we're all on the same page. So I'm definitely gonna add that to the memo. Ooh, yeah, let's just do that right now. Ooh, Bill of Rights. Yep, Article 1, Bill of Rights. All right. And it stated right here, equality and the rights of men. There are men are by nature equally free, independent, and have certain inherited rights of which when they enter into a state society, they cannot by any impact deprive or divest their posterity, namely enjoyment of life and liberty with the means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. Bingo. End of story. So DeAndre Harris and anyone else in the state of Virginia have the right to defend themselves, their family, innocent victims, property, etc., regardless what you look like. I do condemn the decision of him getting a warrant. Dead wrong. I'm expecting Harold Cruz is probably an agent, a plant funded by the federal government. Don't be surprised. All right? Something to really look at. It's called Divide and Conquer. It keeps the quacks like the Southern Poverty Law Center and Defamation League in business. You have to see that too. Well, you give me your intake on this. That'd be awesome, folks. Don't be shy. I love honorable discussions. You know what? We can go through a lot further. And another thing too, as well, with the Confederate flag. Every form of government has issues, pros and cons, but you have to always look into the bigger picture of the history of why they separated from the United States and all that. People gotta start looking at all that. The pros and cons. All right, that's the main objective. But always observe responsibly. But this here is completely unacceptable, what Mr. Harris is going to be facing. And I will do one more thing here, and it came from how the West is trying to recreate Myanmar's crisis in Thailand. And it says here by Tony Carluti, media platforms either directly funded by the United States government or by the political proxies in Thailand, including U.S.-funded Parachi and KO-Sad English, have begun investing increasing amounts of energy into fueling a currently non-existent sectarian divide in the Thai society. They are concentrating their efforts in promoting the activities of all small anti-Muslim movements in Thailand, Northeast region, and other often referred to as ASEAN. ASEAN is no coincidence. It is also the epicenter of the previous U.S. efforts to divide and overthrow the political order of Thailand via their proxy, Thaksin Shinawatra, his Pew Thai Party, and his ultra-violent street, the United Front of Democracy Against Dictatorship. Shinawatra and their political proxies were ousted from power in 2014 by a swift, peaceful military coup. The drama continues in that area. Real shame. Today, temples affiliated with Shinawtra's political network are tuning from the tried and tired, primarily class-based narrative to one targeting Thailand's second largest religion, Islam, in hopes of dividing and destroying the Thai society along the sectarian lines. From northern cities like Chiang Mai to the northeast province like Khon Kaen, suspiciously identical movements with identical tactics organized across the social media platforms like Facebook are protesting mosques calling for specific ads of violence against Muslims and using the same sort of factual and intellectually dishonest rhetoric peddled by veteran Western Islamophobes used to fuel the West's global campaign to divide, destroy, and conquer everywhere from the U.S. and Europe itself to Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, more recently Myanmar, and the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Tools of empire, divide and conquer. Myanmar, which borders Thailand, currently finds itself at the apex of the nationalist and racist-driven violence targeting its primarily Muslim, Rohingya ethnic minority groups of supposed Buddhists who form more a deeply rooted version of what the U.S. and its proxies is trying to create in Thailand, used to both to create a deep sectarian divide and where once there was coexistence and help put the U.S. and European funded political networks of Aung San Suu Kyi and her National League for Democracy (NLD) party into power. Humanitarian crisis created in Myanmar severe several functions for the U.S. and its European partners, who have meticulously cultivated over the course of several decades. First, allows the West to continuously hold significant leverage over the government, and who at any moment may be tempted to break away from its decades-long Western responses and collaborate a more local, sustainable, and constructive partner like China. Second, while Rohingya crisis is highly localized to Myanmar's western state of Rakhine, is also present a highly controlled conflict of the U.S. can introduce foreign-funded terrorism and in turn can pretext for Western counterterrorism assistance, and all in the form of U.S. and European troops, military assets, and even bases on the ground. A small contingent of Saudi-funded and directed militants had already been introduced into Myanmar's ongoing crisis and will likely be expended until U.S. military inheritance, and thus the first stage in establishing a permanent military presence in Myanmar, can be justified. This would fulfill a long-term goal the United States has sought to achieve in the Southeast, the permanent positioning of U.S. military assets in a nation directly bordering China. A similar scenario is unfolding in the Philippines, a nation that was decisively shifting away from Washington, had one colonial power over the Philippines in favor of closer and more constructive ties with Beijing. The nation is now faced with sudden surge in foreign-funded terrorists, a surge so significant militants managed to take over the southern city of Maria, resulting in full military-scale operations, including airstrikes, in order to retake. Amid the manufactured crisis funding features sponsored by the United States' closest Persian Gulf ally, especially Saudi Arabia, the U.S. found itself the perfect pretext to reassert itself militarily and geopolitically over increasingly independent Philippines. And this is really intriguing on this. So, and you gotta really look at all this here as well. And it's both, of course, the Daily Beast says here the Philippines destroying the city of Maria to save it from ISIS would attempt to portray the Saudi engineered crisis as a subsequent pretext for the U.S. military's expended role in the Philippines as more ironic and consensual than part of the cynical plan. Claiming the Uyghurs have pledged allegiance to the so-called Islamic State and used many tactics that the terror group honed in years of the conflict in Iraq and Syria. So as things go on and on here, this is a little bit pretty long, but getting ready to close at CJ's Java Lounge. But it's just really horrific in what's going on. If I could read more, I would. I do apologize to my listeners out there, but I will definitely put this link up. And Land Destroyer is a very good website. They're pretty consistent and all that. So a lot of tyranny going on, a lot of divide and rule. Is what they want to do is create an order in the Southeast Asia. They call it the Asian Union. So you have to always look at that on the other side. Of course, the U.S. is involved, and Britain and Saudi Arabia. Just read this in its entirety, and I apologize once again because I could enjoy narrating the whole thing here. But I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share it throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, or if there's something that's interesting you may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, FutureClub.net, what's the Gab.ai? That's another good one. Patreon.com/LokiLuck3. I hope I got them all in there. I forgot my footnotes on here too. So furthermore, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. Plus, you cryptid fans, LokiLuck3@protonmail.com. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance, healthy for the soul, and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.